my name is Lindelof, and the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. I've been listening to Big Finish. I've been listening to a lot of Big Finish because there was a lot of releases came out last month, and I'm still behind. I still got the Prisoner release to go through, which I think I might start today if I get lucky. Yesterday and the day before, I listened to Restoration Part 2, the second part in the second season. I'll call it the second Big Finish season of Blake 7. So if you don't know, if you haven't seen Blake 7, go check it out. The effects are horrible. The the production values are horrible. Fantastic scripts, fantastic acting, as you would expect from the BBC. In that the late 70s, early 80s. Yeah, that's really that's why we watched Doctor Who and Blake 7 at the time. And so this takes place. They made a little Big Finish hole in Blake 7 in season 3. Season 3, around between episodes 2 and 3, they've slotted in as at least 2 new seasons worth of stories. So so this is like the 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th box set they've done in that arc. As the first one, actually the first 4, I would say, cool. The first one was called it was called Spoils of War, and then the part 1, 2, and 3 was called Crossfire. That basically dealt with a civil war in the Federation between Servalan and the President. So was it the Crossfire Part 3 ended with the Liberator being mortally wounded and crashing. It was a fantastic season end a cliffhanger. It was really, really good. So there we started the restoration season, which the Liberator is really, really pummeled. It's not doing well at all, and they barely have life support. So they went from having this most powerful ship in the universe to being extremely vulnerable, which has actually really worked out well. So the first box set of Restoration, they're trying to find ways of repairing Liberator, and they find a planet with these alien some kind of like these alien cells, these alien chips, which they're able to put into the Liberator that made it semi-functional. Zen is offline, and they're like limping from place to place, trying to find ways of repairing Liberator. At the end of that season, they said, we have no choice. We have to go and find the system. The system are the people who... who's calling me? That's my daughter calling me. I'll call her back later. You're seeing this live on YouTube. Bad parenting. It's okay. She's 22. She's fine. And she probably wants to ask me something about a Hanukkah present she wants to get her mother, or some meaningless crap. But I guess I'll find out in 10 minutes when I finish recording this. So they decide they've got to go and find the system. The system are the alien race that made the Liberator. We saw them at the end of Series 1 when they get the Liberator back, and it's a kind of like very computer-controlled Borg-like society where for some reason the women all looked really, really hot and wore spandex and were in charge, and they use the Liberator guns as pain sticks to beat people into submission. So the first episode is they go back to that space station at the end of spoilers for something that's 40, 50 years old. When they left that space station at the beginning of season 2, they essentially disabled it. They scrambled it. They disabled it. So they go back there, and they find it as a derelict falling apart. And they said there's a throwaway line. The system, they controlled 3 planets. So they go to this season. They go to those 3 planets. So this one, you're dealing with the aftermath of the system being destroyed, which happened 2 or 3 years earlier in this timeline. And so this entire computer-controlled society, which treated everybody as slaves, suddenly stopped working. Yeah, and so people starved to death. People didn't know how to make fire. People didn't know how to look after themselves. And so you'll see this is kind of like a survivors-like take on Blake 7. And you get Dana now played by Is it Yasmin Bannerman? I think Yasmin something or other, taking over from Josette Simon. Yeah. Whoa! Look at that! Without even looking up, and she does fantastic. You really wouldn't notice the difference. And Villa, they go to this planet, and they've embraced a much more rural type of life, and they're very tempted to leave Liberator to go for this simpler life. And you see a more and more desperate Avon forcing Villa into situations that he's not happy with. And there's definitely some real tension there. I love Michael Keating in Blake Seven. I could always listen to more of him. So the second episode is really weird. It's called Happily Ever After, and it's about the Tarrant and Avon go to another planet. At these three. Well, who was it? Callie and Dana. I think it's Callie. Yeah, Callie and Dana go to the third planet. And it's a quasi fairy tale like dream that they're in, which essentially predicts the future. There's all this like predictive dreaming. Yeah, this wasn't really my favorite one. It kind of works in Blake Seven, and they get an important clue at the end of it. You see a very like a possible future Avon, which is really really cool and interesting. But again, I think this is the weakest story of the set. Next one is Siren, and Siren is I think one of my favorite. Yeah, I think all these ones are my favorite. To be honest with you. They go where they have Callie and Dana. They go to another one of the planets, and they meet up with people who used to be functionaries of the system, who were enslaved to the system, who became like the women in spandex or the security guards with the paint sticks. And once the system started to die, their control was released, and they developed this society where nobody gets blamed for the atrocities they did as being part of the system. And what else did they do? It's oh yeah, so there was a Federation scientist who was there for about a year apparently, and she reactivated some of the system accidentally. So when any of these former functionaries of the system get close to them, they get taken over again. They have to be chained up so they don't like start following their rules. Now, most interesting about this is it's almost a totally female cast, and honestly, I didn't even notice. So see, this is the way to do it when this is the way to I think to do genuine feminism. Where you don't make it an issue. It's like it just organically was a story about women after surviving an aftermath of a societal apocalypse. Yeah, and it makes sense because again, all the servitors were women. You had was it Dana and Callie, and you had one guy, and it wasn't an issue. They just did it. The trouble is when you do like a gender driven entertainment, is that the agenda always comes first. And storytelling takes a backseat to it, and it doesn't work. It's not. Yeah, it's too busy like being proud of itself. This is just like Watchmen, for example, the HBO's Watchmen. It'll be good if Damon Lindelof, the guy writing that, could write black people as people or women as people, but he can't. He's terrified. He doesn't know what they are, and so he makes some of these like weird constructs that aren't human beings. Here, it was just people. Oh, it's written by a woman, so that's always good. It is people acting as people who happen to be women. It wasn't a big agenda point. So the final part in it, they get another clue that leads them to the final release called Hyperion, where they find the scientists, and they also find a way to possibly repair the Liberator. And again, really, really great story, very, very tense. Some great action moments in it. So I bought this. I was expecting this release to come out, I think, in May, June of the year, but it was delayed because sadly, it must have been after June. It must be coming out in June, July, because sadly in June, Paul Darrow passed away. Now, I heard a couple of years ago he had to have his legs amputated. And I felt terrible for him, but there was no real confirmation of that. Strangely, like a week before he died, I saw some convention footage of him without legs and from a recent convention, and it must have been terrible for him. I feel, yeah, he was such a physical and powerful person that just exudes in his performance of everything. And this role of Avon is the role he will be remembered for. He was just perfect in it. So they delayed it because they had to work out what the hell they're going to do. How can you do Blake 7 without Avon? You can do it without Blake, but without Avon, it's near enough impossible. Especially setting it in. So how they're going to wrap up this storyline as well. Fortunately, at the end of this box set, it ends on a cliffhanger where Avon is separated from the rest of the cast and may well be dead. Yeah, he's obviously not dead because he goes on to appear in rest of season 3, series 3 of Blake 7. But you could easily write him out, and then I don't know. I guess when he turns up at the end, have some dialogue. So they say they're doing that, and then they got plans to do more Blake 7 stuff away from the Liberator, because again, I just don't see how they can do it without even. They could do was it the Liberator Chronicle style releases, and also they lost Servalan. Servalan was supposed to be in this episode, Hyperion, but they had to write around it because poor Jacqueline Pierce passed away. Was about a year ago, so she couldn't be in it. So yeah, again, I know. So now you're basically left with just who you got. You got Villa, Tarrant. Well, you got the replacement Dana, and Callie and Jenna. Yeah, I get. So it's just you can do. I would just do companion. Was it Liberator Chronicle style releases. Did I enjoy this flick? Well, I waited long enough for it, and I was really happy to get it. Yeah, it was very good. It's I don't know if I just my knowledge of Paul Darrow's ill health is playing tricks on me, but he does sound noticeably older on this release than he ever has done before. That's why the ones with Gareth Thomas on it will never really work for me, because his sound is so much older. So this one, you're starting to hear a bit of a grasp in his voice. Is his final performance? It's probably his final performance of his life. It was recorded like a week before he died. It's certainly his final performance as Avon. Fantastic actor, fantastic characterization. You know what made Avon great is not just his ruthlessness, but when he would smile, and he smiled a lot, but it was kind of a beaming, warm smile, behind this like cold ruthlessness. So he had human emotions, but again, real sad. I really wish they could have just recorded it season 3 a month later, or a month earlier, I should say, so we could have got the whole thing. But that's what life is. I just hope they'll be able to. Yeah, they had the similar trouble with Jago and Lightfoot when was it Trevor Baxter passed away, and so they would take. I was going to say footage, but recording of him and splice it in to make it seem like he was there at the end. And again, I hope they can do it, because this is not a recastable role. Incidentally, if they ever were going to do a big screen or even a small, a big budget Blake 7, and you want to find a new Avon, Mads Mikkelsen, the guy from GoldenEye, not GoldenEye, from not Skyfall, Casino Royale. The bad guy Casino Royale played Hannibal Lecter, was in Rogue One. He would be fantastic. He's got that very duplicitous kind of look. And if you're doing Spanish casting, how about what's his name? The guy who played Bolter from Battlestar Galactica as Villa. That'd be fun. Anyway, so the final release in the set comes out I think in April, May. I'm looking forward to it. This box set is a strong recommend. It's obviously a recommend if you got part 1. If you want to tip your toes into Blake 7, I would start off at the beginning of this cycle of stories with the Spoils of War. Get it on download. Again, it's is there any cheaper options they have? I really don't know. But yeah, again, I waited a long time for it. I'm really glad it came out. It's very sad. It's Paul Darrow's last performance. And generally, I give it a strong thumbs up. Well done, big finish. My name is Fila Beck, the Rabbi from Another Planet. Please like, share, and subscribe. Ring that little bell so you're notified when new videos drop, and let me know what you think. Let me know what your opinions are. Put a comment in the comment, and hopefully I will get back to you. Have a great day.